Morning, guys. This is today's psychology lesson. Um, so the last thing that Marcus said that he didn't teach you in component one was the science in psychology, and is psychology a science? So this information is on page 25 of your booklet. Okay, and there is just a massive debate here: is if psychology is a science or not. There is not a right answer. Some people say yes, some people say no, some people say kind of. Okay, and there's to help us kind of determine if you think we are a science or not. We can look at the 10 components that make something a science. So on the work I've sent you, you'll see a handout where you can try and match the definitions up. So can you do this quick, well, not quickly, take your time and see if you can match any of them up, and hopefully you can do that. So once you've done that, can you now check your answer, please? So these are the kind of the definitions, and I'll give you what the actual answer is. So the first one, being able to repeat a study to obtain the same findings, is replicability. Really important that we can replicate results. If you can't, it means it didn't happen. Okay. Can you imagine if you dropped an apple and it hit the ceiling, but you never did it again? It means it never happened. You can't prove it, so it's not reliable. It's not replicable. So we don't like that. The next one is a tricky one, and this is working from a theory. Then you create a hypothesis, then you test it, and then you come up with a conclusion. This is what we call deduction. Deduction and induction are the opposite way round, and we don't talk about them very often, but it's important to know the definitions. The next is an unbiased view, which is objectivity. Then a type of relationship that can be established when the IV is manipulated and the DV is measured. This is cause and effect. Probably the most important thing of a science. You've got to prove one thing causes the other. The next one is when you manipulate variables to create conditions in experiment in order results. This has been able to manipulate variables. So for example, you're doing like Loftus Palm or something like that at the moment, or Grant. So manipulating the verb use, for example, in Loftus and Palmer, you have to be able to do that. The next one is you have to be able to test your hypothesis. So you have to have it measurable. Proving the truth of a research hypothesis. The next one is falsification. You have to be able to prove things wrong. Science is our best guess at the moment. We always prove things wrong. Okay, so that's really important that we're able to prove it wrong. When you guys go on to like Freud's theories, okay, those of you who do criminology, you've done that. You can't prove it, so it's completely unscientific. We also like numbers. Okay, we like to be able to quantify what we can see and measure. We also like to keep everything the same, so we have to control and standardize. And then the last one must be induction. Okay, so they are the definitions. Can you write them? Get the right definitions into the box in your grid in the booklet, please. So this is the pattern of flow in deduction and induction. So deduction, create a theory first, then you create a hypothesis, you try and test it, and you confirm it maybe. While the other way is in induction, is where you observe things. Oh, look, there's something going on there, and then you try and test it, and then you kind of come up with a theory. So, is psychology a science? There are two sides. Psychology can be a science. If you're studying the biological area, clearly very scientific, we can prove things. If you go through those 10 features of science, you'll see the biological area ticks off loads of those. Okay, absolute stacks of them. When you look at the social area stuff, we can't always control so much because we're using real world environments. When you're doing the cognitive stuff like you're doing now, sometimes we can't actually see inside your mind, so we can't objectively see it, we're just testing it. Okay, so some areas do hit loads of these features, some do not. Okay, and if we do an experiment, that is the key thing of a science. So obviously some areas do that more than others. However, some people say it's not a science. Some things you can't see. You can't see what people think at the moment. Okay, we don't know how that influences people's behaviour. Some people think the mind is just too complicated to even try and be scientific. So like I said, when when we look at Freud stuff, you'll see that even more. So if you're interested, research Sigmund Freud's ideas. Okay, you'll see completely not scientific. And also another kind of big issue is you can't always control things when you do research on humans. We are exchange variables. Your mood will influence your behaviour. If we're doing research on a plant, the plant doesn't have feelings or think, they're not annoyed by being isolated. They'll still produce oxygen. Okay, but we are different. Okay, we are the exchange variable. So sometimes people say psychology isn't science. So the main bit of work is I've set an assignment on Teams for you to do. I just want you to put your views down to psychology of science. Minimum of 200 words, but don't go crazy on that. You don't have to write 10,000 or anything like this. Okay, see what you think, if you think it is a science or not. If you've got any questions, just email and we'll sort it all out. Okay, thank you.